Right, good evening, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thank you for agreeing to do the Q&A. We haven't had one of these for a while, so as you can imagine, we put a request out for questions the other day, and they've absolutely flooded in. I'm sitting here with 5 pages of A4 paper with questions on. I think, though, the overwhelming message is one of how supportive people want to be to the pair of you, Potty, etc., on the board. And I think what's come through loud and clear, and this is mainly for Ian, is since it was announced that you were taking a bit of time away from the club, is a bit of concern for the club, for the future, and the well-being of you and Claire. So, do you want to cover that first, Ian, and see where you're at the moment, please?
No, sure. And I think what Claire and I would both say straight away is thank you to everyone for the support. It clearly, I mean, the reason we haven't had a Q&A for a while, Rob, is my fault, because last time we did one, I personally got quite a few abusive messages, emails, which kind of set the tone a little bit, and to be honest, put us off doing these.
Yeah.
And then obviously, as things have progressed through the season, for whatever reason, it's not just me, but abuse via social media seems to, for whatever reason, have become the accepted. And obviously, it does hit home. It's not great. And it's not something that, anyone should have to put up with, particularly to the point where, the police have had to get involved. But again, I want to stress that, it's fantastic when, the opposite happens and people are coming up to us at Hague Avenue, thanking us for everything we've done so far and really showing their support. So, for every kind of bad brings about some good as well. So, we try and keep the positives.
Yeah, I think the questions have come through about the implications of you stepping away from the club, and people are obviously concerned about that. Is that a possibility, or do you feel things are a little bit better now? Have you had time to reflect?
Well, kind of Liam, Potty, and I have worked really, really hard over the last 3 years or so to really get the club stabilised. The last thing that any of us would want to do would be to walk away at the moment. This has been a particularly difficult season. There's no two ways about it. But that applies to probably 80% of National League North and South clubs. It's a really difficult time. It's a time for everyone to be mucking in and kind of, showing support and working together. And it's just not, it's unfortunate. We're not blind to the fact that it's a minority of fans. And it really is a minority. It's a handful of kind of, 5 here, 5 there, who feel that it's okay to say whatever, do whatever on social media, and they can get away with it. We really, really do not want that to stop us doing what we're doing and how we're progressing at the moment. But there does come a point where you have to take a step back and think, this has got to stop.
Yeah.
The last thing that I would want to do is not be progressing forward with the work that Liam and Potty and I have done, so far over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah. Okay. On to some questions then. Ian, you have previously stated that the board operates an open door policy to investment. Given the urgent need for new investment, what is the club doing to proactively seek this out?
Well, I mean, we every time we've spoken of it, I've suggested that we're happy to talk to everyone and anyone. Anyone at all who has contacted the club over the particularly last 3 years. I personally have touched base with, got in touch with, and the reality is that over the last 3 years, one person during lockdown COVID got in touch to invest £10,000. We didn't want to increase the share capacity at the time, so I sold them 10,000 of my shares, but they paid that money direct into the club. It was much needed at the time. It really, really did help us during a difficult time. Every other kind of potential investor thus far that I've spoken to has turned out to be either kind of hoaxer, fantasist. It's got nowhere. They've never backed it up, never followed it on. There is not a long line of kind of investors waiting to get in touch. Because anyone who has been in touch, we've followed up straight away, and none of them have turned out genuine to date.
Yeah, I think the next one follows on then. Is there any progress in bringing in large corporate sponsors or for further expansion of the board? Easier said than done from what you've just said.
Yeah, I mean, again, I say this every time we speak, Rob. If people think that they have things to bring to the board, you don't be afraid to get in touch. It's really frustrating to hear people on the outside talking about, initiatives that the club haven't followed up, ways to kind of better the club without actually getting in touch with us and talking to us about it. Because there is only Liam Potty and I. We've got help from Claire, we've got help from Steve Dewsnip, now Steve Brown, but it's a small kind of workforce, as it were. And if people have got ideas, get in touch, talk to us about them. If people want to get involved with the board, get in touch, talk to us. If people want to want to invest with it, get in touch, talk to us. But at the moment, it's always easy to criticize from outside without actually kind of stepping forward and getting involved. And that's the position we're in, is that nobody does actually step forward and get involved.
Yeah. Liam, I will come on to some football related ones, I promise, in a few minutes, but we'll just do these first. And I think this links in really, and it's about the budget. And, Liam says he likes to operate on a small squad, but I think the feeling has been that we could do with extending that squad. Is it the finances that are preventing that?
It's a mixture of factors, a mixture of different factors. I mean, yeah, finances. I don't think there's any surprise that finances have been difficult this season. And as I said before, that's the story across National League North and South, and probably a lot of National League as well. Gate receipts have been down for the last 2 years. Now, people may look at the gates and say that the gates are actually quite healthy, but there are far, far more concessions over the last 2 years than ever before. So actual gate receipts are down. Coming out of lockdown and COVID, commercial sponsorship has been well down. Hospitality has been down. There's been very little prize money from cups. This season, last season we were conscious of selling Doug. Season before Dion, Marcus went. We've done our damnedest this season to keep hold of as many players as we can, because we are still, Liam and I have been trying to build this squad for the last couple of years, and you've got some really, really good players in there. We have fought off selling wherever we can this season, but obviously the knock-on effect of that is then you're not getting the monies from selling those players. Unfortunately, there have been issues outside of our control. The problems with fans is well documented. We have had numerous warning letters from the FA in relation to conduct of fans.
Have we actually had any fines levied on us at the moment?
Well, what tends to happen is the FA it doesn't look good to be fining National League clubs. So what they do is they send you letters telling you that you need to take action to avoid kind of coming onto their radar again. Invariably, what that means is that it would be far cheaper to get fined, because instead we need to then go out, improve all our security. Average cost of security now per game has risen to kind of 1,200-1,500 quid per game, and that's excluding the games where we need to have the dogs there to sniff out for pyros. These are all expenses that we need to incur, which we weren't before, because we then need to go back to the FA and give a full and detailed breakdown as to how we're increasing our costs to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And as I say, the costs have gone through the roof to do so. And we are well and truly on the radar.
Yeah.
And that's the bigger problem, is that, we're skating on thin ice at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give your voice a little rest for a second, Ian, if that's okay, and bring Liam in. Liam, it must be difficult for you. I've seen this week, and some of the questions come in, which I'm not going to repeat because they're derogatory, really. But people saying, how are you managing? And I know we've spoken, and you tell me that, you feel you're doing a marvelous job because of the constraints you've been under. Would you like to give us a bit more of feeling of how you're feeling about your position?
Being about my position, well, obviously the last few weeks the results haven't been great. But again, where we were, we knew we were getting some money in this month off the Dion deal. We knew we were getting some money off something Dave's done. So when Mark and I and Ian, we were the postponements, which in effect have really killed us a little bit. You know, the back end of the season where we need us. So if you look at the games, and we've ended up taking 6 away games on the spin, 3 consecutive Tuesdays, which is incredibly difficult at the distances we're travelling. And we do that, but that just means in March, April, you know, we've got the funds in place to actually get us through the season. But people turn around and say, October, if we budget for 2/3 home games per month, and then you get the Everton games in, well, you can near enough see, well, you're going to meet your outgot lays a little more or less. Them games all go off. So the little bit of a cushion we've got in the bank disappears. We don't have one home game in October. We have one home game in December. We have 2 in January. It's just been quite freaky that all the games that have gone off all seem to be at home, and then, you know, when you're rearranging it, we've got to try and look at it sensibly, where we're going to get monies in here, there, you know, through the each month between now and the end of the season to sort of like get through the season. But it's been, as Ian said, it's been difficult this year. No fault of anyone in particular, but obviously stuff's down all the time. It's the following year after the first year coming out of COVID, people had money because they hadn't been spending it, and this is the year where it started to bite. But as you said, there's been numerous clubs in our league who haven't been able to play the players. We've actually met it every month, sometimes very, very fine, or, you know, it was topped up by Ian or whatever way it was done. Everyone's had their pay, which, as you said, we've got tomorrow, and we've got March, we've got April. But again, this isn't just one team. This is the majority of teams in this league.
Yeah, just looking at the team then, Liam. Do you feel we are where we should be at the moment? Do you think that the position we're in is what you'd expect?
Well, I would have expected to pick up more points than what we did in these 6 away games.
Yeah.
Come up with 5. But, you know, people will be physical because we lost our own to Hereford on Saturday. But anyone who watched the game and thought we shouldn't have got something out of that game, or were watching a totally different game to me. At this moment in time, we have hit a bit of a goal drought. The ball's not going in the net. But what I do know, experience-wise, if we keep on creating the amount of chances which we did Saturday, the ball will start going in the net. So I'm not really concerned about that. You know, we're mid-table. We needed the run after Christmas. That hasn't happened. But that doesn't stop us, if you think. We go into the last 14 games of the season, if we got 9 of them, 10 of them at home or something like that. You know, so the back end of the season kind in terms of fixtures coming. And we've got no away games in midweek, which is another bonus. So I don't think there's many teams who've got that kind of run. I'm not saying the teams are going to be any easy, but certainly the travel and, you know, the fact that there are so many home games is going to be a huge advantage to us in the running.
Yeah. Okay, Ian, just come back to you for a few. The finances obviously concerned. That's something that everybody is worried about. You know, the future of the club. What would you like to see happening over the next few years with Southport Football Club? And somebody's made a suggestion. You've just got Sainsbury's coming into town. Companies like that. You know, the big news store coming into Southport. Could we approach people like that to look at getting involved, and from a community side of things as well?
Well, I mean, we've brought Steve Brown back because he did really well a couple of years ago in relation to that side of it, and he's always kind of keeping his eye on new companies coming into Southport. But Liam and I are doing a lot of work as well, talking to 1 or 2 other companies who have expressed an interest in partnering with the club on a commercial sponsorship level, more on a kind of community and bigger term basis. You know, we've had some really exciting and interesting conversations with those companies, and they will continue, because, you know, throughout all this, Liam and I have been looking at the security of the club and how we can push it on, and getting the right partners to do that. And as I said earlier, anyone who's approached us, we've spoken to, most of them fall by the wayside. But there are one or two companies who really do want to get involved on a commercial sponsorship basis and work with us. And hopefully we'll have some good news to come out from them over the next couple of weeks.
Very good. Excellent. Okay. You may have seen through various media that the Trust in Yellow has been mentioned again, and trying to get the Trust back involved with the club. Would the club be prepared to support the Trust? And is there any possibility that the Trust could become more involved in a board capacity within the club?
Well, I think, anyone who was on Trust in Yellow previously, and from kind of the first day that I got involved, will tell you that I had absolutely no qualms whatsoever in working with Trust in Yellow. In talking to Trust in Yellow, we had lots of meetings. I think Jonathan and I were able to discuss lots of matters, either together or board to board, as it were. And it's important to note that the falling away of Trust in Yellow had nothing at all to do with the club at all. Because, as I say, we were always happy to meet up, happy to talk. Liam and I separately were talking about potentially a fans representative who could liaise with the board and between the board and the fans. Because, to be honest, that can only be to the club's advantage as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, half the problem is that we have no one as such to talk to or to liaise with. I don't want to harp on about the kind of social media problems, but half the problem is the lack of understanding at the moment, across various factions, which itself generates a lot of kind of social media abuse,
Yes.
which shouldn't be happening. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there as to, my position. I've seen lots of, I mean, let's be honest, the caterer decides to leave because the caterer can't make it work, and you get people going on social media shouting that, I should leave the club. Well, at the end of the day, if we did that and we walked away, and as Liam alluded to earlier, Claire and I are kind of financing any shortfalls at the moment. There is no one else to step in.
Yeah.
And I think rather than, again, kind of people going on social media and shouting things which is completely wrong, if there was a liaison there, be that a fans representative or be that a functioning TIY, I can't see where the negatives are for the club.
No. So that is a very positive there, because one of the things somebody's put here is, obviously, we get the Trust trying to get people to organise things to help the club financially, with fundraising, and we've had in the past, Liam, with fan fee player games, not necessarily football, cricket, all sorts of things, trying to get that sort of thing going again. The club would be very much for that, wouldn't they?
To be honest, Rob, I said that I was always a massive supporter of the Trust.
You were, yeah.
Day one, everything they ever did, I participated in. Always encouraged the players to participate, which they did. And, I've always been, even to the days, I'll go back to Charlie, I've always thought we should have had a fan representation on the board.
Yeah.
And then that needs to be somebody who understands, not just from a fan point of view, but also economically, that point of view. I think it'd actually be more transparent to get out to the terraces to actually understand where things are, and you'd like to think that I'd pull everyone into working a lot more closely together. But again, as Ian said, it's nothing to do with us that the Trust sort of disappeared. And it's quite disappointing to think it has.
So
half the problem sorry, Rob, half the problem
Okay.
is as well is that, as you say, people will take to social media. And yet, if I'm walking around the ground or Potty's walking around the ground, they won't come and speak to us direct. But 5 minutes later, you'll see them commenting on social media. and we do make ourselves readily available, on a match day. But having someone maybe as an in between might make them feel more comfortable to put their questions via that representative.
Yeah, so that's something we could actively seek to get up and running.
Yeah, I'd say Liam and I had already been discussing it for a while. We just need to kind of, move on and do something about it.
Excellent. Okay, Liam, a couple more football ones. You said just before Christmas that the club had accepted an offer for a player in early December. Has
Yeah.
that fallen through?
You don't actually know. There has been issues from their end regarding visas, etc. But it's an Australian club and it's not the National League, it's the one underneath. So the season doesn't actually start till April.
Right, yeah.
So, but there is people working on it. But I've got to say that every week which goes by, I'm more apprehensive about it. As I said, it's difficult, especially when the player in question was keen to do it. It would have been a change of life, but I'm actively trying to.
So it's still on.
It's not dead, but as I said, hopefully it could come back on the table and we'll see where we are.
Okay. Something about the away support and coach travel now. There's a feeling that the club should be doing more to support coach travel. Maybe that's something, if we did get the trust up and running again, they could look at. But it's difficult for coach travel. Getting somebody to actually run it, Ian, I think has always been the issue. I'm sure the club would do it if we could run it at either a profit or break-even basis. But I think it's actually getting somebody to do it, from my understanding. Is that correct?
Well, it's funny, Rob, because we offered to get involved a few years back when the trusts, were running the coaches. And we were criticised at that point for kind of trying to step on their toes.
Right.
Now, since then, it's been put on the back burner by the club because, I mean, the trust is still in existence. No one kind of. I know, obviously, the coaches did run for a while, and then there was various trouble. You look at the Chorley escapade. And to be honest, and as I alluded to earlier as well, at the end of the day, there's only so much that Steve Dewsnip can do. And with the help that he gets from Mark and Steve, I think asking them to run coaches as well would be one step too far.
Yeah, and I think to be honest, if we talk about the coaches, the fans' coaches, as you said, it comes in line with the trust in yellow. And so the whole idea of the trust and that is that it's a supporters group. Supporters group should be actually organising the coach for themselves. And that's what you should regularly do through the trust.
Yeah. Okay. I know our previous chairman got ridiculed for even mentioning this, but about having a 5-year plan. Okay. So what is the 5-year plan on the pitch? Obviously, we want to progress. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But do you think, as a club, we need to build up sponsorship and finance, don't we, to be able to do that? So,
Well,
5-year plan.
When was that 5-year plan?
You've been funny, Lee. I think it was several years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
Who was the chairman?
Charlie.
So you're asking us the 5-year. Well, we haven't ever said 5-year plan.
No. This is a question that somebody's raised about current things, to look forward for the next 5 years. Where do you see the club being on and off the pitch?
Well, I think what I would say, I think if we get through this season, and I'm sure Ian will agree with me, it's probably been the toughest season I've ever known Southport as a football club.
Yeah.
So if we get through this season, I think you can take a breath and you can actually see. What I will say is, I think, let's put it into parity of, if you're going to sit here and say, right, we're going to challenge and our club can function in the Conference National. Well, 2 clubs went up last season, which is Gateshead and York, and they're both hovering above the relegation zone.
That's right, yeah.
York got a huge fan base, they're both full-time clubs. And I think the average budget last year in the Conference National was 868,000, compared to the average budget in the Conference North, which was 315,000. So from the days of when Southport were in the National League, compared to the National North. Then that was never a jump like that. It was never. Now you might say last year consisted Stockport were in that level and Wrexham were in that level. But there's always someone else who comes along, which we always seen the bigger clubs coming through. You know, you're talking a Fylde probably in our level with a budget probably 5 times ours. To be fair, Ian.
Yep.
So that's where you're gonna think, but you got to remember that their last year in the conference they got relegated.
Yeah.
They would have had the same budget. So to actually say, you know, the reality surely built aside over 7 years or whatever it was, and he'd done a great job year on year, improving gradually, and then they went up fine, and then they come down with like a really, really small points tally. In this day and age, I think if you got up, you'd actually obliterate the club at this present time where we are. If you look into take into account the travel, I think there'd be 14 overnight stays.
That's right, yeah.
14 overnight stays. Then you've got coaches, which you need to coach to overnight. It puts 5 times the amount to trip on away games. And then you'll say, well, you get from 15,000 in the National League North to 70,000 in the National League. But in reality, you spend a damn sight more than you do with the extra 55,000. You just purely to get to the games.
Yeah.
So this is why you need the local community and people like that around us to actually support us, to give us a chance, to give us a chance. At the moment, we've had to sell when we've got players who come along who perform at a much higher level. We've had to sell them for a couple of reasons. One, they want to go because they're going to go to a level where they will quadruple their wages minimum. And two, it obviously helps us in terms of balance sheets, like any club, whether it's Man United or whoever. That's what happens. That's football. That's the economy. That's the industry you're operating in. So, to answer your question, you're looking club the size of Telford, probably accepted that they're going down. Boston got beaten in the playoff final last year. They've had a lovely multi-million-pound stadium board. They signed 16 players in the summer after being within 90 minutes of promotion, but they went out and thought they were going to invest heavily and improve the playing staff. I think they're currently in the bottom 4, thereabouts. So sometimes people, sometimes you wish for things, but in reality, that wish can sometimes become a nightmare. Going off the state of this season, we have really we have to concentrate so much to get through without having issues where other clubs, and trust me, I've spoken to several managers, players haven't been paid. 1 or 2 clubs have gone 3-4 weeks and the players haven't been paid, which, it's still the jobs, it's still the livelihoods. It's really difficult. But we haven't got to that stage, and we've actually done remarkably well not to get to that stage. So whatever happens in the course of thinking, we can say we've got through, I would say, the toughest season, I said before, that I have ever been involved with Southall.
Yeah. I think the thing that will be thrown at us, and I'll throw this one at you, Ian, is ambition. Everybody wants to progress, don't we? It's going to be a bit of a hard road to get to that level, isn't it? We do need to attract more into the club.
Yeah, I mean, we do, but at the same time, and I know, we purposely, we don't rubbish 5-year plans, but we certainly don't talk about 5-year plans. Liam and I have still, on numerous occasions over the last 2 years, talked about the fact that, we're looking for certain types of players who we think that, if we do get that bit more backing and we do get that bit more support, and we are pushing on, these are the types of players who won't do a Chorley. They won't go up, realise that, they're kind of out of their depth and come straight back down. These are players who are, I mean, our average age must be, take Tony Mack out of the equation. Our average age must be kind of 22, 23.
Tony Mack goes up to 97.
Well, yeah. But I mean, the point is that, we've spoken before, you've got a really solid backbone there. You look at Chris Doyle and Adam Anson and Deck at the back. Jack Bainbridge, Josh Amami in the middle. You're already seeing the kind of the spine there. You know, we may well be one or two short of that.
I think the other thing, we've got to say, people say about we've got a small squad, right? This year we never had really intentions that we have having this smaller squad. Niall Bell signed in the summer as our big summer signing, ruptured
Yeah.
the cruciate ligament in the pre-season against Bootle. Has never played 1 minute for the club. However, he's never been not paid. That's just one you just got to take on the chin.
Yeah.
Deck ruptured his ankle ligament after the first friendly in pre-season, was out for 8 weeks. So that was a big, big loss for us. Niall had a really good pre-season and then got injured on the last pre-season game against Everton, missed the first 7 games. Then probably got back into the best form he's shown. I think he got 8 goals in 10 games or something like that. And then he gets injured against Longridge and misses the next 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Josh Amani's now had a long spell out, which he had a long spell out last year. And now Dex ruptured his other ankle ligaments. Jack Turl's done his hamstring. So, as much as we're saying we've got a small squad, we've had some bad luck with injuries as well.
I think you say, Liam, I think it's the worst we've ever known, isn't it, this season?
Yeah. But in reality, we also need a bit of freshness in the squad. The players need a bit of freshness in the squad. Now, what I would say, I think Miles's give everyone around the club a huge boost and a huge lift. He's such an exciting talent, play for Southport. And he'll obviously go on and have a brilliant football career as long as he stays clear from injuries. But he's given a bit of excitement. But in reality, he's not going to be our player going forward.
Yeah.
So we need our own lads back. We need certainly, if you say the 2 most creative players in the team are Niall and Josh, they need to stay fit, but they need to stay fit for their own careers to progress as well.
Yeah.
There's no point being in for so many weeks and then out for so many weeks. They need to have a consistent run of performing at the level that we've seen them perform at. We just need the consistency.
That's right. Yeah.
It's important to note as well, Rob, that budgets aside, Liam and I have looked at other players across the league and players who have become available, and to be quite frank, they're not as good as what we've got at the moment. And if players who came available were, then we'd certainly be looking at them. And we don't stop. As of today, we're still kind of talking about this player or that player and potential. What we're doing and the squad we're building.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Well, I'm very conscious that our time is coming and there's still plenty of other things to go through here. As I said, what I think I'll do is forward you both the full set of questions, and I'm not going to doctor them in any way. You can see exactly, the questions that have come through. There's some we haven't covered, some more general things, which I just wanted to concentrate on the main topic really this evening, just so that people understand the position of the club. And I think the main thing is, Ian, it's heartening to know that you're still with us, you still want to fight for it and keep Southport Football Club going.
Yeah, I mean we've been here for 5 years, Rob.
And
we as a family are kind of we've been involved since day one. There are clubs in far worse positions than Southport. We as a family are happy to kind of support the club with all our time and financially through this difficult season. And it's conversations that we've had, and we're all happy to do it. And we are very mindful of all the support that we do get, and that we know it's a minority who do take to social media to give out abuse or whatever, and it is really it's great to hear the support that we do get, and I'm sure everyone who knows us knows how hard we are trying, and the time and finances that we're putting into it.
Yeah. Liam, final word from you on the team. You obviously we want to still push for them playoffs, don't you? And with the home games we've got, still a chance.
Yeah, so we go into every game trying to win, you know, and that won't change. I said, you know, again, starting tomorrow, we've got a game tomorrow, and then we've got a tough game to Brackley. But then obviously got to try and make Hague Avenue like what it was. You know, bouncing. I thought the crowd were great. Stayed behind us on Saturday, willing the ball in. You know, it just didn't happen. But you know, I think if the performance was like Saturdays between now and the end of the season, I think we'll be in a good place. I don't see us conceding lots of goals, so we just need to start scoring them at the other end, and that might mean a little bit of jiggling. You know, we might have to sacrifice something, maybe to bring something in, or which is just wheeling and dealing. And if that's the case, that's the case.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you both very much for your time tonight. As I say, there's still plenty to go through, which I will send out to you, and we'll put something out either in the program website or maybe even do another one of these. I know people are keen to get them back on board, Ian, yeah, and I think, you know, if we try and put them out monthly, it will help everybody all round.
I think the other thing, Rob, we're always there at the ground. So
Yeah.
I've never had an issue, never shunned anyone away, never turned anyone away. If someone wants to come up to me, I've got to be the most accessible manager there is. So I'm always in the bar after the end of the game. And again,
We have noticed that, Liam, that you're always in that bar, you know, right?
yeah. And again, it's sometimes it's a lot nicer to actually come up and be a man about it and say, you know, it's not always great, but you've always got an opinion and you'll always get an honest answer. So come up to me. I said it makes a lot easier than putting something derogatory on social media.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you both.
No problem.